So it's a big lie. So look, at least you could sit there. You're going to say to me, well, I feel bad, and say tomorrow you're going to feel bad about something. I said, just sit there and realize it's not true. What is it that's bothering you now? Let's think about something, about what somebody said to you, about you got to do your taxes, that the government may come after you. No, these things, look, they say 90% of things we worry about never happen. So worrying, the phrase is this, worrying works because 95% of things we worry about never happen. It's true. And you want to know something? When they do happen, think of the worst thing that could happen, right? The worst thing that can happen. Hey, when you're out of the self, you can accept your own death. But no, we're worried about, hey, walk out of the house, a neighbor's going to look at us the wrong way. A clerk in the store is going to say something. Somebody's going to cut us off on the highway. I'm going to go to work. And most of these things are in our brain. We think everybody's against us. We go to work and we think, well, they don't like me here, right? What I say to you is this: go to work, go to a meeting or something, and think you're the worst person in the world and everybody there hates you. Go into the meeting, because we usually go to a meeting, we want to be dressed right, we want people to like us, and sit down there and only smile. That's all. But you know what? When you have this perception change, they say when you change, the world around you changes, right? You have a boss at work, he yells at you, and you got to understand, we have this love and patience and tolerance. These are the watchwords. It talks about that in To Wives. That's a great chapter in our book on page 118. Love, patience, tolerance. They had to have this towards their husbands, right? Because of the way they acted. And that's how they grew as people. Even in the worst of situations where their family was apart and their money situations was gone. That is such a beautiful chapter. It shows us in our lives how, when people read that chapter, just that understanding conception where they're coming from there. That these people, their rehabilitation, their change in perception, when bad things, it says in our book, Meet Calamity with Serenity. The more worse things that happen in your life, be joyful for them. Be joyful. Because this will bring us closer to our surrender and God consciousness. Just finally at that point surrender. So anyway, I was in my car and I was resentful towards somebody. I could have been resentful for 10, 20 years, right? And then I thought, I don't have to think that way. And it's not true. What does it matter? Our brain is just chemicals going around. What does it all matter? We're here 1 minute, we're gone the next. We could walk out of the house and get hit by a truck. What the heck are we thinking about? We're making the ego, we're making ourselves our higher power, making ourselves God, right? We're taking what's called self-will. So when you're depressed tomorrow, well, first of all, we're going to have that spiritual awakening here. But we practice this in all our affairs. Step 10 talks about that we can have that. And when we read stuff here in the big book, it says the answer and the solution and have that God consciousness, and all of these things. But anyway, so Bill was in the quicksand. So I don't know, did I read the solution? But anyway, here's what happened to his friend Ebby. Ebby walked in, right? Ebby walked in and said, and he was his friend. They were in Brooklyn in a small kitchen there in a little apartment in Brooklyn, right? So his friend called him up and he said, this is great. Bill had a big bottle of alcohol there and he said, look, we're going to drink together. But what happened is Ebby walked in. Here's the transformation. Here's the thinking change. The door opened there. This is on page 9. Page 9, I know everybody loves to go along with this, the first paragraph there. The door opened and he stood there, fresh-skinned and glowing. There was something about his eyes. He was inexplicably different. What had happened? So here's the solution. So Ebby tells him right here, right now, what had happened. He says, I got religion, right? He got this higher conscience. He got out of the self. That's what religion is all about. Philosophy is about getting, forgetting about the self. The self, the ego's a big lie. It tells us that from the very beginning in the first part of the Bible with the low-hanging fruit, which we bite all day long. That's pleasure. Again, the man climbed Mount Everest. I heard the story, but the guy, again, I told you, in a meditation center, and he said, look, I could sit in my couch and be just as happy as that man on Mount Everest, climbing Mount Everest. But he said, look, not only that, I could be blissful. That man's happiness is momentary pleasure. And on the other side, he got home, he was miserable because he read on the internet some guy climbed the mountain like 7 times. So he had to go back and do it again. That's the way we run our lives. We run our lives on misery, depression. We worry about those. We worry about those around us, our own health. We worry about all these things. How about I talk about the lilies of the fields and the birds. How free are they and how, a flower grows, right? Do you know that somebody, they have these things where they show a flower or a sound of a gong and they say you can find the answer in all of these things. Why do they say that? Why is a flower the answer? Or why is a gong? Or why is one sentence in this big book? Why is being here at this meeting, enjoying all the people around us and enjoying the meeting the answer? Because we're in the present, we're in the moment. Flour has all the answers, because when you're silent and when you're still, that saying, be still and know that I am, God or my higher power. When you're still, all the answers are here. You'll intuitively know. See, fear, look, again, I'm going to go right to the food again. Fear. A diet is all about fear, trying to control stuff. How crazy is that? These billion-dollar corporations, I know what to do. They'll send you this food with that poison in it. You realize all our food, 95% of the stuff in the supermarket is poison. I go there, I can only buy 5% of whatever's there. All one ingredient, one food. Has 50 ingredients. Pick up the package. All poisons, all stuff to preserve it, to make it tasty. Synthetics. Salt, oil, and sugar. We talked about SOS. Salt, oil, and sugar is a problem. We have all of these things in the supermarket and all of these foods, and they're all a big lie. That's the illusion. When we have that transformation, we look at food and we want the healthy food. The clarity is with the water. Why do we need a drink that has 1,300 calories in it? Why? Because we were brainwashed. We think that's the answer. That's the solution. We have that transformation. These steps work for our addiction to food. The other ways don't work. Diets, you can control it all you want. I've tried that. Everybody tried that. It's been in the problem, not the solution. You can do it for a year. You can, and 95, it's not me. Again, when I tell you these things and you say, well, it doesn't make sense what you're saying, read anywhere. And we know 95% of diets fail. Even that program on TV, they call the 600-pounder, where they have the stomach surgery. Right in the beginning, they say 95% of these things. And when you look at the program, it's all about the diet, restricting, doing the exercise. No. These 12 steps in the Overeaters Anonymous program, the AA Alcoholics Anonymous program, and these religious, spiritual teachings, again, when I use the word, people say, well, AA is a cult, or OA, these are cults. No, these spiritual teachings are truths throughout the century. I'm telling you, pick up any spiritual book. Read your religious books and read them. It talks all about a higher conscience, higher power. How about, a confession of your sins and all of these things. It's all related to these 12 steps, but this is the instruction booklet, right? But no, we had, like I said in the beginning, when I put stuff together at the instruction book, which I was proud of myself. I said, look, I have parts left over. The other guy had the instruction book. He didn't have parts left over. So we have pride. We pride ourselves in trying to analyze our problem. Going to professionals, spend a lot of money. I'm not saying not to do that. It didn't work for me. In a moment of inspiration, we didn't even get to step 3. Hey, step 3 is a spiritual awakening, but we got to do that now. So first of all, so everybody has a spiritual awakening in the next few minutes, because we're going to go to the share, so you don't waste your time coming here. And you'll get your money's worth, but we do give a refund, as they say. We'll refund your misery at the door. You ever hear that one? I love that. So anyway, let's go to page 25. And it says here, on page 25, the great fact is just this and nothing less. This is on the third paragraph down. There, we had deep and effective spiritual experiences which have revolutionary change towards people, towards your food, the thinking change, design for living, AA attitude adjustment. The other way doesn't work. Self-will, trying to do it. Towards our fellows and towards God's universe, the essential fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty our Creator entered into our hearts and lives in a way is indeed miraculous. So get out of the self. The Creator is so long, hey, have a higher power. I always felt so long as it's not me, I'm fine, I'm good, because we're in a state of denial and lying. But that's the great news. The meeting's called The Good News, is these transitory things around us, the real joy. The real kingdom is here. It's inside. You could be happy right now. Forget about the sorry world. By the way, I just want to say before we start the shares that if you go onto, if you're listening to this meeting, I put them up on YouTube, my part of it anyway. You don't have to worry about the shares being up there. And down in the description is a Zoom meeting that we have here live on Sundays and Tuesday mornings at 7 a.m. And, in there is all the information how to get on here. You don't need a password, actually, which makes it a lot easier. So you don't have to use your intellect for that. And don't misuse your intellect, okay? Just for that, to get on the meeting. After that, they say, don't think, right? Stinking thinking. I had one, did you see that video I put up there? Stinking thinking, right? The stinking thinking. Don't think. But, like I said, one more thing I want to say. Don't try not to think. Meditation is good, but we have prayer too. Just bring in that. Be reborn in thinking. Oh, I was going to say, okay, this is it. We got to do the topping on the cake here, because we want to make sure, if you didn't have it already, this is the extracurricular work here. Page 63, it says, as we felt, this is about the 10th sentence down in the middle of the first paragraph. As we felt new power flow in and we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, we became conscious of his presence. We began to lose fear of today, tomorrow, the hereafter. This is really true. When you work this program, you have that meditation, that prayer, and you bring this consciousness. We were reborn. It says that right in our book here. We were reborn. And then it says the third step prayer. How many of you read the third step prayer 1,000, 100 times? You bring it in through the heart. They say the longest distance from the head to the heart. It says here, God, I offer myself to thee. What more do we need to know? What more do you need to hear? What else? You know, it says it right there. It says what it says. But no, we're going to interpret it and intellectualize and figure it out and do this and do that and read 100 self-help books and go to 1,000 meetings, sponsor 1,000 people. We need a book here with 600 pages in it, right? Not that they're bad, but we have one sentence here. The answer, the solution is here. If you didn't get that, it goes on to say the same thing. Everything in this book says the same thing. To build with me and do with me as thou wilt, relieve me of bondage of self. That's the big lie. That's where the freedom comes in. That's the good news, is that the bondage of self is a lie. It's a big lie that I better do thy will, not my will. When I'm depressed during the day, it's my will. I want things to be a certain way. Who cares? It's enough already. Surrender. Why are you going to go the rest of this life being miserable that somebody did something to 10, 20 years ago? You're going to be resentful and angry. When you have that, you do amends to people, you have that change. Like when Ebby walked in the room, Bill saw it. Go approach somebody in your family that you had a resentment towards and just be happy and have compassion and love for them. You don't even have to say anything. They'll see it in your eyes, and they'll try to act what they want to do, but to nowhere. So then I meant it. Take away my difficulties. Victory over them may bear witness. Thy love, thy way of life. So we do God's will. Feel God inside of it, God's nature. We were created in God's image. Need I say more?